WarioWare Move It. I don't have a clever pun for the title that I can think of while recording this, so let's get going. This game is very interesting. And I mean this in the best way possible. You know what? I think the best way to start it is, this is the best game that has ever caused me physical pain. But, genuinely, is this an amazing game? No. Is it really fun and charming? Yeah. It's WarioWare. It's definitely one of those franchises. You know what you're getting going in. Except for the fact you have no clue what is going to happen. Because this franchise is genuinely just... I'm pretty sure they just probably have like a wall of ideas. And just every time anyone comes with any idea that sounds remotely fun, they're like, screw it, let's do that. So... I'm gonna split this video up into a bit of a weird way, basically just positives and negatives. I'm gonna swip between them, because I would normally just do things section by section, but, like, this game is, well, frankly, WarioWare is a game that consistently lasts, like, 5 seconds. Either way, let's just talk about my first major pro. The game is hilarious. At least to me, these games are always just really funny, despite the fact I'm not really into a lot of what the humor in these games looks like at the surface. I don't know, there's also just a lot of fun little gags, and it's also a lot of, like, slapstick, which I do really like. Also, the writing for the form sections, which I do kind of count in this, is just really funny. I don't know why, but some of these are just unnecessarily funny. Especially if you consider the fact it, like, genuinely does not matter. And also, they definitely go on for way too long. Because it is literally instruction on how to hold the controller. And more than half of it is just the narrator rambling on about something stupid. Con number one is definitely the controls. The motion controls feel very finicky and not very responsive, which is definitely just the fact this is a Switch game. Joy-Cons are just natively less responsive than the Wiimote, which they're trying to emulate. If you did not notice, this is very clearly meant to be a direct sequel to WarioWare Shake It. But it causes issues since the controls just are very finicky. Sometimes you do what is the correct action and worked for you every other time you played the minigame, and then it just didn't work, because the game just decided to not pick up your input. Anyway, keeping on track with the minigames, they're really fun and creative. And genuinely, they feel like they were made during the Wii era. Almost all of them, aside from visuals, because despite the Switch being pathetic, still more powerful than the Wii, do feel like they could have been made on the Wii. Especially since the Wiimote and Nunchuck exist, you could just replace that with the two Joy-Cons. And I have to give respect to that. Because this game feels like what it is going for. Which is really cool. Like, genuinely, this kind of feels like the lost WarioWare game that we should have gotten on the Wii U. Or the launch title that showcases what the Switch Joy-Cons can do. Because there isn't one of those. I don't count 1-2 Switch. And next up is another con. And that is level themes. Look, this is an issue with WarioWare Gold and Shake It as well, but I prefer games like WarioWare Get It Together that each character has their own theme for their games, instead of here's a set of how you're going to hold the controller and whatever games you can come up with that idea. Like, I get that's necessary from a gameplay perspective, but I do genuinely prefer when they're all in a theme. Even if you still did the motion theme, could you have all of Wario's minigames be Wario minigames? Feel like they belong to him. All of Mona's minigames feel like they belong to her. Instead of, it feels like what arbitrarily belongs to the control scheme we gave you. Next up for pros is presentation. Genuinely, I love this game's art style. When I'm talking about the art style at the moment, I am just talking about the general cutscenes and the feel and the artwork, because it looks really good. It is stylized. Genuinely, I think my favorite in the entire game is the just in-between minigames for Ashley's stage, because that looks so good and it's so charming and I love it. I just really like how this game is stylized. Visually, it looks great. Like, genuinely, I cannot compliment this enough, because I like it. It just has a nice line style, a nice way of showing effects, emotion, movement. While it can come off as a little cheap to some, I think it looks really good, and honestly, there's more emotion than you would expect for an art style like this. Do I think every game should look like this? Absolutely not. But a franchise having its own identity with how it portrays itself and its art is just a generally great thing, and to me, that's what we have with WarioWare. Also, transitions between levels, pretty good. Also, before we continue, please consider liking and subscribing since it helps with the channel an absolute ton. My next issue is one I'm going to keep brief, because I honestly don't know if it is actually an issue, because I may not have just gotten it because I'm still playing through the post-game, but the lack of an all minigames mode. I assume that's probably further in the post-game, but I don't know. I'm leaving it there because I genuinely do not know. Since I was just talking about art style and art direction in the section that are pros, minigame art direction. There isn't one. There just isn't. There never is. But some of these feel like SNES games. Like, some of them feel like old school games, how they're stylized. Some of them, just cool mixes of styles. Some of them, weirdly questionable. But each one's distinct looking. So I'll give it that. But, like, in all seriousness, I do really like them. And since they all generally have a different aesthetic, it's also really easy to quickly tell what game you're playing, because they all feel very different in how they're presented. Also, since I have more pros than cons, we're doubling up. But, in all seriousness, 9-volt minigames. Really like them. Great as always. Super fun. I really like the aesthetic of just the progression. I think it's a fun little story. I really like just it in general. I'm going to be honest. And I also really like the choice. Most of the games are from the Wii and DS era of Nintendo. Which I like partly because definitely hits nostalgia. But again, this feels like a Wii game. Like, remove Fire Emblem Engage, which isn't me saying that game. I actually do quite like it. But remove Fire Emblem Engage, and almost all of 9-Volt's minigames are from the Wii and DS or prior. Which, again, really adds to this feeling that this game was a Wii game. I know it isn't. It was definitely developed more recently. But it feels like it was made to be a Wii game. And I think that's just a really cool thing that this game has going for it. It genuinely feels like the lost sequel to WarioWare Smooth Moves. Now, my last con is another one that's kind of a, I don't think this is fair, and that's length. It's a short game, but it's also a party game. And you may call me a hypocrite, because I know for a fact I'm pretty sure I complain about the length of Mario Wonder. But to put it bluntly, most 2D Mario games have 8 worlds. Wonder had 7. But this one's main story actively just feels like it's missing one more set of levels. And I do think that's especially apparent with the fact almost every single character is paired up with someone else for the sake of the story. Which is partly the WarioWare cast has gotten exponentially larger, as I swear we've gotten a new character for the last, 8 games. But, in all seriousness, that also kind of says that almost everyone's paired up with someone. Even the ones that don't say they're paired up with someone usually are. which I do think definitely hurts the game, because it also kind of prevents the characters from interacting with themselves. Also, most of the pairings are logical pairings, which also just means they're pairings you're going to have already seen and or see a lot. And also, like, I don't know, give some of the new characters their own thing. Or don't put 3 characters together in one plot line. Like, look, the game's highly replayable, and I haven't even gotten around to checking out things like the party mode yet, because I don't have friends that have been available. But that kind of proves my point of there's so much left in this game, because it really is a party game. Genuinely, it's just a really fun and charming game, and there's a ton of multiplayer content. And while the game doesn't have nearly as fleshed out of a multiplayer for the main campaign has Get It Together, since I was able to play that game fully with a friend, this one still has it. You just rotate. And I don't hate that, but I do prefer Get It Together from a multiplayer perspective. And there was one thing I forgot to mention, because it is definitely not something most people care about. You can select your dominant hand, which is so nice. I am left-handed. There have been instances where things are really uncomfortable to play, and it's like, thank you! Thank you! Either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!